Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 4 of Print 17. Really appreciate that you've chosen to spend 45 minutes with us talking about software. Some people might say, well, I'd rather go to a dentist or, talk to a mechanic about how my engine runs than do that. However, software is one of the most topical subjects at the trade show. And in the industry at the moment, because it's not just about the equipment you have, it's about the process that it runs through, and in some cases, it's also about ways of creating deeper connections with customers by helping them in other ways, like Chili does. So I want to welcome everybody to the architecture of integration, laying the foundation for workflow success. See what we did there? And let's start with Kevin. I'm not going to say your last name. Gnumana. Was I close? Humana. I was so close. I always want to say manamana. Da, da. Do you have that in
Next
Brussels?
year you'll have a song about it. Okay.
I will. No, I'm going to Brussels next week for Label Expo, so I'll be speaking Flemish in no time.
Okay, great. Goed.
Hoots. Okay, look into the camera. Tell everyone who you are, what you do, and how are you helping customers make money?
My name is Kevin Gumina. I'm CEO at Chili Publish, and Chili Publish is a product called Chili Publisher. And Chili Publisher is basically an online document editor. And what we do is we enable our customers to use this technology to better service their customers in any kind of way. Could go from your typical web to print, but could also be a complex system combining data together with document composition, for example. And then obviously outputting that and pushing it hopefully through a workflow so that you don't have to do that manually.
Thanks so much. Michael, SmartSoft Presswise.
Hi, my name is Michael Yan. I work for a company called SmartSoft. We have a product called Presswise. They're in booth, was it 358? I think that's our booth number.
Mike, they can't hear you. They cannot hear you.
Right next to Avanti. Presswise is a print MIS system. We have unlimited customer portals for your customer, your web to print sites, as well as end-to-end workflow automation, all the way from taking a credit card over the, on your website out to shipping. We have quoting, barcode driven production, and so it's a fully integrated print MIS system, and it's cloud-based. So all you really need is a browser, so you can work it on a laptop or tablet.
Thanks. And I wanted to mention that Chili is a three-peat. You've been in our alliance 3 times. Thank you so much. Michael, I'd like to welcome SmartSoft because you guys are first-timers. Really appreciate the support. Everybody welcome SmartSoft and Presswise to the alliance. And now we have a veteran alliance member, Stephen McWilliam from Avanti. Who are you, what do you do, and how is Avanti helping customers make money?
So Steve McWilliam from Avanti. We've got a MIS platform as well, known as Avanti Slingshot. It's really a platform that helps our customers get more jobs through the shop faster with fewer errors by automating as many steps inside the process as possible. And I'm sure we'll talk about what those touch points are in our panel today. So Avanti Slingshot.
Thanks so much. And now we have another first-time alliance member. You don't have the cute accent that your partners do, no. But it's an Australian company, which we love going, the Printerverse is global, and this represented, Stephen, you count being from Canada as from another country, although we kind of think of you as just, our neighbors right there. Rich, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and what PrintIQ does?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I'm Rich Ramirez, and I'm a solutions architect for PrintIQ, and that stands for, quote intelligence, basically. We're based out of Australia, New Zealand primarily, but we have a handful of North American customers now, and very similar to Avanti and whatnot, we're a management information system. So you build up your factory inside our system, everything that you need to price up and quote and send out to customers and whatnot, and you follow the job all the way through production and invoicing and dispatch. And along with Chili here, we also like to call ourselves a management workflow system, because we'll connect to the likes of Chili and Focus and various other vendors out there, which we'll talk about.
Thanks so much. Every Wednesday at 4 o'clock Eastern Time, or today at 3 p.m. Central Time, I host Print Chat. It's an hour-long discussion with the influencers of the industry. And every year, I ask them about the subjects that they're interested in. And from the subjects that they're interested in, I formulate panel topics. And then I go back to the community and I ask them, what would you ask a panel of experts about this topic that you care about? And I have their questions, which is why I am just the intergalactic ambassador, because I'm not a printer. I would never use your technology. Certainly doesn't do anybody any service for me to ask you questions. So this is actually from Stephanie Gadden from Australia, as a matter of fact. She wants to know and I should preface this that I don't understand half this stuff, because I'm a print customer, so I'm just assuming that you will. How do you prefer to identify and document the existing workflow of a prospect and where the opportunities to improve are? And are there tangible ways to pre-measure how workflow and productivity could be improved by incorporating your technology? It's a long question. Anyone want to tackle it first?
Sure. You have to read it again.
Really? Okay, it's basically how do you document the current workflow of a prospect and where their opportunities are to improve? And then can you prove before they take it on to improve that what you will say you will do, you can do, is basically what they're asking you. I guess, in other words, put your money where your mouth is. Kevin.
Okay, I think there's two ways to approach this. First of all, if you're already doing something, you might be able to prove it and say, we can improve this because you're going to look at your net margin. If you're trying something new, it's a new business model, it's obviously hard to predict. Doesn't matter if you put everything in place, but if the consumer is not buying whatever you're doing. I think there's a couple of ways to look at the cost optimization, is like how many people are touching something, how many times a week and a day are we doing that, and can we automate that? I think those are the low-hanging fruit and are quite easy to do with MIS solutions or workflow solutions, or what we do with our product is just make sure that the order entry comes in by itself and that it's a press quality PDF and it can go further into the workflow.
Thanks so much, Michael.
Yes, I think almost all of this, we all approach it immediately by saying, what problem are we trying to solve? I mean, that's usually where we got to start. Where is your point, your point of pain? Is it, we'll get a call and they'll say, well, we have a problem with the lists. We're doing a mail job. So we may show and demonstrate, address verification. Or they'll say, well, we have a problem with throughput. These jobs just kill us every time they come in. So you're basically asking a bunch of questions, doing go-to-meetings, and coming up with a demonstration of your technology that would help them solve the problem that they're faced with.
Thanks so much. Stephen, Avanti.
So it really is all about the workflow. And so what we do for folks is we'll actually come to their shop and spend about a half a day with them. And we call it the day in the life of an order. So we get our request for a quote that we need to turn into an estimate, that we need to turn into a quote letter, that we need to turn into an order, which we need to turn into a job ticket. And we're looking for what we refer to as breakpoints in the workflow. So we meet with each of the departments along that workflow, sit down with them and understand what's the level of effort to get through each one of those steps, right through to, as Richard mentioned, getting it right to the invoicing stage, getting it billed and getting it shipped. So the way to tangibly measure it is about ROI. So everybody knows what the I is. That's the investment that they're making in the software and in their maintenance and in their training. That we know the I. What we all need to do is help folks understand the R, the return. And the best way to do that is to, as part of that workflow analysis, have a look at some key metrics that will help you understand what is my payback on this $100,000 or the $50,000 investment that we're making. So have a look at your level of rework. Have a look at your overtime. Have a look at your number of touch points it takes to get an order through the system. One of the best measurements that we have pre and post, we think, is revenue per employee. So what's the revenue per employee that we've got? I'll give you one example. We have one customer, they're basically, their rule is $1 million of revenue for each CSR. That's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting $1 million out of each CSR. Now, if I can get that to 1.2 million, or can I increase my revenue without needing to add people? That's the true benefit of the PrintMIS systems that you're looking up here on the panel today. It's about how can I grow my revenue without needing to add people.
Rich, Print IQ?
Yes, no, thanks a lot. Yeah, as Michael and Steve just mentioned, look at what the customer's doing, figure out where each of the processes are taking place, and yeah, you set up the system accordingly. And then you get them comfortable with it and have them using it day in and day out in the manual process that they're doing. But little by little then you crawl and you walk and you run and you incorporate the MIS into other parts like Kevin's chili, so that way you have users don't have to actually be designing the document in-house. You can have the end customer designing the document online, and that takes away a little bit of the manual steps in-house. And then later on, you can incorporate the management system like we do into the pre-press workflow. So, let's have it talk to a Kodak Printergy, or let's have it speak to a ESCO automation engine, and really have two-way communication back and forth from the pre-press to the management information system in the front office, so everyone can see at any given time, without having to call up and pester someone, where the jobs are at in the production cycle. And then finally you're off to the races, as we mentioned, invoicing and dispatch. But also a good way to prove to the end user that this is worth the investment is to pull reports later on and do analytics. And we have some really, really nice analytics to determine this job took so long to create, or you blew budget on this one because of, the press was down or whatnot. And over time you can finally see, oh shoot, every time these particular guys are on, work, and it takes a little bit longer than the other guys. How can we speed this up a little bit more? So you take all that into account, pull some reports, and you can really see your return.
Kevin, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I think it's also important that whenever you're doing this, that you can go in small little chunks, because nobody's ever going to be able to promise you what the actual return is going to be. Some might tell you, the sales guys, but they're never going to put it in a contract anyway. So try to find something where you can have the least investment and the most return off, and try to do it in small iterations. In development, we like to work in sprints. So that's a very good approach to even implement that for your workflow or your MIS solution or anything that you're doing with the business. Just do a small investment, measure it, and then do the next wave of investment. And I think that's key, whatever you're doing, and that will be the only way forward, I think, from a software's perspective.
So the print chatters were obviously focused on collaboration, because the Printerverse is a collaborative space and our community is a collaborative space. So Todd Cordo, who's a print chatter, wants to know, how open is your solution to integrating with third-party solutions? What integrations currently exist, and what integrations are you working towards? Let's start with you, Rich, because you seem like you're really happy to talk about this.
All right, yeah, thank you very much.
He's all excited. Were you at the Outlook
ready
conference?
to go.
Was that you at the Outlook conference? Yeah, I remember you.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's a good question. And yes, you need to be open. As a system, you need to be able to talk to various other systems. And PrintIQ is definitely in line with that thinking. We've got our APIs open for the quoting, for the jobbing, for the invoicing, and the dispatching. So that means that if you've got your system API is open as well, we can talk to one another. And look, that's all pretty much simple things like SOAP calls and understanding basic XML. And we talk to pretty much everyone out there, everyone that we've given our XML to. They say, yep, this looks great. It's got all the data that we need. We can start incorporating that. And we've made it easier as well, even if you don't have the real super expertise in-house to understand APIs, we're part of the Zapier community. And in Zapier, you could subscribe your system's API calls to our PrintIQ system. And it's just a subscription, and you basically drag and drop. You say, I got PrintIQ here, and I want to make it send an email every time a quote to my system here. And you just drag and drop, it does the connect, and bang, you're talking from one system to another. So look, when you make your system open with SOAP calls. We can talk to you. We document it all. You go on our pages, and you can see how easy it is to talk back and forth.
Can everybody hear him? As a joke. I think they heard you in Milwaukee. I'm actually going to mix it up so people don't anticipate. So Michael John.
Michael John.
Michael John.
Rhymes with moron, yes. So we have our approach is that, you know, we have APIs. Some systems do it the old-fashioned way. Sometimes they give us XML and they want to FTP it to us. Some people want to send us a SOAP call. We publish our API details so that people can go on. So it's open to the public. Have example test files there. So it's that world right now. It's almost like back in the 90s, people, you know, a lot of printers said, I don't even have a website. Well, almost today, almost all the printers have APIs. So if that's kind of where we're going. You know, we're all interconnected. Nobody's at the end of the process, right? You know, you've got your prepress, your printing, then it gets mailed, then it gets shipped. Everybody's APIs have to be connected. So yeah, that's the key. We're all kind of have to be that way. How else would you do a credit card transaction? How else would you ask for FedEx to get a label for you? You have to have an API and you have to have connectivity, and JDF as well allows us to interact and interconnect with each other.
Kevin Humana.
Thank you.
I got it right, didn't I?
Yeah, almost.
Humano.
Humino.
Humino.
Okay. All right, APIs. So I think first of all that the APIs should be the center of your focus when you're purchasing software. Ourselves, we basically, our solution doesn't work without another embedding solution. So all our customers have integrated it in something. Otherwise, it just doesn't make any sense. Otherwise, you just have a document editor. It's like having InDesign and not doing anything with it. And if we look at who we partner with all the major e-commerce platforms out there, DAM solutions, we partner with MIS solutions, we partner with database solutions, we partner with workflow solutions. So I think it's really, really important that you can do that and that you can each time expand your business as you have to go through a different niche or a different offering so that you can just grab the tools that are out there.
Thanks so much, Stephen. Avanti.
On the topic of integration, it's all about how do we get information in and how do we get information out. The most important integration that we have in Avanti Slingshot is the link between your web-to-print world and the print MIS. So just about the top 25 web-to-print solutions that are out there, including homegrown ones, are all able to integrate into Avanti Slingshot. Our favorite way to communicate is via XML. So structured output from a Chili or a Marcom Central or a host of the web-to-print solutions that are out there. So XML is our favorite way to get information in. Our favorite way to get information out, so the integration point out of the print MIS and down into things like prepress, our favorite way of communicating there is JDF. So you don't even need to understand what JDF stands for. All you need to understand is that JDF is the agreed language in the printing industry that we're all going to speak. So it's not a debate, is Mandarin better than Cantonese? We're all going to talk JDF. And JDF is just more structured XML. So that's our way to go into, in terms of the integration points, all the used equipment vendors, as an example, they've all got a platform. You know, everybody's trying to move from being an application to being a platform. So we integrate into the likes of PrintOS from HP, SmartStream from HP, FreeFlow from Xerox, TotalFlow from Ricoh. They've all got that platform, and by far the favorite way to communicate there, again, is JDF.
Thanks so much. So not only did I ask questions from the print chatters, I actually brought a print chatter here. This is Jamie. I've been calling him Jamie the Printer. He's from Allegra, Princeton. They're a one-stop print shop. They have a ton of equipment, so he's vendor agnostic. He is describes himself as a creative print strategist. He's not a salesperson. He wants to help his customers find solutions, find things, more creative ways for them to do their work, for it to be more valuable. And Jamie's job is to sit here and watch panels and ask questions. And he's, as you can see, been taking notes, and he has at least one question. Jamie?
Morning, everybody. Say we have a workflow system in place, and we've had it for a while, and not everybody, we're looking at a new one. Say we're looking at a new one. What are the 3 steps that we should think of? Because not everybody in the company's been there the first time it happened. You know, they're not used to the steps that took place, and they're just used to using what's there. If we're looking to change, what are the 3 things we need to look at or may have forgotten about that needs to take place to make that change?
Michael?
All right, well, implementation, I think, is the word we're talking about here. You've got this moment where you're with a customer. So your first question is, you know, is this a customer who doesn't feel comfortable using the web? Are they going to, are we going to show them a web portal so they can order? Are we going to build out their products, make their branding, all that sort of thing? So that's the first step. And of course, the second step is setting up your ability to do an estimate or pricing. If you do get custom jobs in, you've got to have your papers and your presses and your finishing tasks all set up so that you can accurately come up with a price. Everybody, you know, they usually have, whenever I meet a new customer prospect, there's usually Joe, you know, and Joe either has it all in his head or in some crazy Excel spreadsheet, which only Joe can possibly use. So, and then, of course, the whole part of getting, you know, to see how you're doing and making money, you need some kind of a reporting, you know, some kind of method to go out to accounting. I mean, some systems, like PrintSmith, I believe you guys probably use PrintSmith. If you're Allegra, oh, I'm sorry, that would have been Alpha Graphics, my bad. Okay, so if you have that, yeah, you would, yeah. So bottom line, though, is that you need some way to either go into QuickBooks or some accounting thing, and that's something that very seriously you need to look at. I did have a question myself. I'm noticing, why are all the web-to-print systems starting with a P? We've got PixFiz, PageDNA, PTI, I mean, good Lord. Why is
You're
it
asking me. I don't even understand what you people do. I'm barely surviving this conversation. Who else wants to answer Jamie the printer, the person who really does matter here?
The one thing I would recommend and suggest for you as you're going through this workflow journey is, first of all, start with a conversation with everyone, especially the senior management team, about what are as an organization, what are our priorities and what are our challenges, and that'll answer a lot of your questions when it comes to what do we need to improve on the workflow side. That'll drive, you know, what do we want to look like 5 years from now? Let's make sure that we've got that into our workflow. Because workflow platforms and PrintMIS platforms, unlike your equipment that you're swapping out every 3 years, this is something that you're putting in for 10 to 15 years. So you got to get it right. So for another thing, you know, part of that journey should be when you're looking at the different vendors. I like to say that the second mouse gets the cheese. You don't want to be the first mouse with a, you know,
The head in the mousetrap. I like that.
Been to the mousetrap. The final thing I'll say is, if your journey is about what are we going to do to improve our workflow, the first thing you got to realize is there's actually 2 workflows going on in your shop. There's the production workflow, and that's how do I get a job? How do I actually, you know, prepare it, print it, get it done, the stuff that I can bill my customer for. But there's also the administrative workflow, and that's really where the home run is for most people when it comes to their challenges are typically on the admin side. Job onboarding, as an example. Now that we've moved from 10 jobs going through the shop in the next 10 days to 10 jobs that have got to get through the shop in the next hour, job onboarding can be a real challenge for folks. So get a good understanding of that admin workflow, your production workflow, and then understand how am I going to get those 2 worlds to communicate.
Try
Yeah.
not to puncture eardrums this time.
Okay, so I'll try not to. Yeah, just to piggyback on what Michael and Steve said, you need to put all those systems in place and make sure you get a workflow champion, someone in the site that is going to understand, you know, at least have a high-level understanding of A to Z, how it's all going to flow. Because at the end of the day, once you are given the keys and you are running with it, you're going to need someone inside the environment that's a champion for it all and that can keep everyone motivated and positive on the change, because it is a bit of change management. You got to make it simple for everyone in the environment to understand what their new duties are, how similar they are to their existing ones, but how they're slightly different as well. And you take it easy, little by little. And then lastly, just re-examine your operations, how you're doing them. Once you understand and can break down to the granular level, how much it costs to get out this one little piece of the portion of the pie that we work on, and then start building up there little by little. And as long as the champion understands overall those key elements, everyone will start running with it and using it.
Kevin?
I would turn it off for a day or two and see what people are actually doing. And I would make notes, and I would take that into my new workflow system. That's my idea.
It's true. Okay, so as I mentioned, the print chatters don't play around because they are there to get answers, and so this question is from them. Are there support communities available for your customers? And the print chatters asked me to ask you for 3 customer references. Customer references.
Okay,
That they could contact and find out how wonderful everything, and to verify that everything you're saying about how wonderful you are is true.
That's a very interesting question. I'd like to answer it by saying we never do that. But the first problem I have to do is find out, what do you do? I mean, if you're a wide format shop and that's all you do, I would first need to I need to know a little bit about what kind of reference to give. If you're a commercial printer, you're not doing any wide format. It's no good to say, hey, there's a Presswise guy in Atlanta. I know you're in Atlanta. That's useless. So that's the first problem. It is a common question. I think we all get that. Hey, I'm in Atlanta. Can I go see somebody who uses Presswise or something? It may not make any sense at all. So that is a challenge. But when it comes to community, yes, I think LinkedIn is interesting. We have a little Presswise LinkedIn group that is kind of invite only, and they can just basically beat us up a little bit. Of course, we have a support channel that's direct to us as well. But yeah, those are very healthy because I know what our software does, but they may have something. Hey, I've got this particular device. How did you solve this particular device? That has nothing to really do with Presswise. So communities are great.
Thanks so much. Kevin?
Well, we have a couple of things. First of all, we have our yearly user group, which is actually a physical event that takes place once a year, probably evolving to 2 locations. I mean, one in the US and one in Europe, but right now we're still doing one, where we gather about 100 to 200 people together, and they're actually the users of our solution. And they come together, they get access to product management, they get access to senior management, they get access to service people. Basically, the entire company is there. And not only the company is there, but there's other users there so that they can communicate. If we're talking about references, that's one way. The other thing is the online stuff like LinkedIn group and so on, obviously. Talking about references, it's a little bit hard for us because we have brand owners, we have printers, we have service providers. But just to name some, we have one of our customers here with us in our booth, My Creative Shop. They run an online web-to-print solution. We have SK plus G. We have Blanks USA. There is brand owners. There is Syngenta, which is a really large brand owner. There is, I don't know. I mean, there's many. I can.
Okay. Thanks so much. Stephen or Rick?
The number one part of the support community inside Avanti is very similar to the end Chile of a user conference. Once a year, the Avanti users get together. We move it around the North America, West Coast, Central, East Coast, Toronto, and that's that one time a year where everybody gets together for 3 or 4 days. It's a phenomenal opportunity for folks to network and meet their peers. The reason it's a great community is people don't treat each other like competition. They treat each other like business people who, if I'm in Atlanta, I'm not really competing with the people that are in San Francisco. So it's a great forum for people to share ideas. We don't actually run the user conference. The users run the conference. And they also have a Yahoo discussion group that they all participate in, and they can throw just a question out into the forum. Doesn't even necessarily have anything to do with Avanti. It could be, hey, I'm thinking about getting into large format. What are the trials and tribulations of making a decision like that, which is very very helpful for all of them. Or has anybody got a report that does this? So in Avanti, we ship it with a whole bunch of customer standard reports, but people can write their own reports, and that's a great way for them to swap. Has anybody got a job cost and contribution report that I can borrow? And they're very happy to share those things. On the topic of references, I'm not going to give any either. Without the permission of the people, all of a sudden the print chat community, all 30,000 of them are picking up the phone and phoning somebody in San Francisco. But feel free to reach out to us. We'll provide no shortage of references for you.
Thanks so much, Rich.
Yeah, I would dovetail.
Whoa.
Sorry, what Steve was mentioning. If you want to see some users, simply go to printiq.com, and you'll see some references down on the bottom of our pages there. But as far as the community is concerned, our software sort of builds the community in and of itself. We've got a feature called IQ Link, and you can link to other PrintIQ printers or anyone using PrintIQ from your own PrintIQ into their PrintIQ. So literally you or your end user can come onto your site and quote up products that you don't actually produce. The other PrintIQ printer produces these. And once the job is accepted and it's pushed into their system, they are printing it out and they are delivering it to your end user. So we've got a number of IQ users down in Australia, New Zealand. They all get along, they've all linked up together, and they're doing work for one another, and the end users don't even realize, even though they're going on to one site, that some other site up in Brisbane is pushing out work for a user down in Melbourne or over in New Zealand. So it's a really, really excellent ecosystem that a number of our users have picked up, and they're just running with it like gangbusters. So yeah, it's a nice little community.
Thanks so much. Does anyone have any questions in the audience? Anybody? No? Thank you. You do? No? Thank you for joining us, though, all you guys. Thanks so much. Okay, so how are apps integrated into your technology, and what are the benefits they are providing for customers? Kevin.
Well, I would say that it's actually our customers building apps, and they use our technology inside those apps. I think that makes a little bit more sense, because the problem is if we would be developing an app, it would probably be too limited because everybody has their own use cases, as it always goes with these kind of things. So I would say that our users just build their apps and they're leveraging the technology inside that app.
Thank you. Adrian? Sorry. Rich?
No worries. I go by Richard, Rich. As long as you don't call me late for dinner, that's all.
Right.
Yeah.
I called you Adrian, though, from yesterday.
That's good. Look, our stuff is designed to be used on anything. So yeah, as far as an app is concerned, we do have one. We're using it for our barcode scanning. If you do want to use your smartphone or tablet or whatnot, you can scan barcodes with our software. So we use our app in that regard. But pretty much, it'll work on any sort of platform. So an app isn't totally required. But again, sort of dovetailing on that, open architecture. Because of our APIs and whatnot, I've walked into some of our sites and yeah, they're creating their own little sort of apps on their own and piggybacking off our calls and whatnot and showing me some cool little things that they're using in their environment. So that's pretty much where ours goes. We just make sure that it works on any platform that you're using, and you really don't need an app too much to be too specific.
Stephen, Michael?
We already talked about XML, we talked about JDF, so let me just jump to the benefits. The real benefit is information that's entered once doesn't have to be entered again. That's the real break point in most workflows is I've got this information that I've entered with my fat fingers, and then all of a sudden I'm going into my ESCO or my Apogee or my Printergy, and I've got to re-enter the same information all over again. So the home run is information being entered once, being seamlessly able to pass from app to app right through the entire workflow.
Thanks so much. Michael?
Yeah, pretty much the same report. When people think of apps, I guess, certainly end users, they might say, oh, do you have some way to go from InDesign into your printing system? And if that's what the question was about, I think everybody here pretty much consumes PDF. So that's the magic Esperanto when it comes to getting from the designer apps into most of our systems. And of course, JDF is more machine to machine, so it's more like this machine's got to talk to that cutter, or this machine's got to make a barcode so that cutter can set up. But yeah, all the stuff that we're talking about as machine-to-machine apps, we're just using a common language which is XML, which really is JDF.
What one feature of your products is the most misunderstood?
The support channel.
In our case, it's accuracy of what you see in an online environment actually being present in the PDF and actually being produced. I think that's sometimes misunderstood, how difficult that is and how accurate we do that. And I think that's very important for people to understand. If you're serious about print, you know all the challenges that come with it. And there's a lot of solutions out there, but they don't necessarily do it right. And that's something that we will always consider as a high-end solution. And I think sometimes there's a lot of misunderstanding there.
Thank you. Michael?
Yeah, I'm going to say finishing tasks. You know, it's something. Every job that you ever do is cut, and it amazes me when every time I meet a new printer and we're setting up the cutting finishing task, how different people look at it. Some guys just go, "Oh, we just charge $9 a cut," and I'm like, "Well, wouldn't it matter if it's 20-pound stock or 130-pound stock? You're either going to have a stack of paper this big or that big, so it's going to take longer to do the bigger one, right?" So yeah, I think finishing tasks are complicated because there's a lot of math involved about deciding how you're going to go price this and how you're going to measure how long something takes. So I'd say misunderstood and difficult to understand is setting up finishing tasks.
Stephen Avanti.
Just a variation on the question. Instead of an app, a feature or a piece of functionality that's misunderstood, I'll say what's most misunderstood about PrintMIS is how much work it is to implement the system. It is tough. It is really, really tough. And people underestimate the level of effort that it does take to do that. It isn't something that you start on Monday and you're done on Friday. Every day that we spend on site with a client from a professional services standpoint ends up with about 3 days of homework for them to do before we'll come back for that second week. So if you're doing an Avanti implementation, you may be only buying 17 days of training from Avanti, but we're not coming in for 17 days in a row. We're coming in for 4 days, and then we're leaving until you've got all your homework done. And if you resource the project properly, that means we can come back probably in about 3 or 4 weeks. But if you just, give someone this task to do on top of their very busy day, the guy gets rewarded with being the implementer of the PrintMIS. Next thing you know, we're not coming back for months. And so, from a misunderstanding standpoint, make sure that you resource it properly, and it's going to take you longer than you think.
Thanks. Rich?
Yeah, I would sort of dovetail on that as well. I mean, there's, as far as not really misunderstanding, but maybe underappreciated in the sense of the, quote, intelligence of the Print IQ. Once you've built your factory inside our system and you allow Print IQ to come up with the production path for the job, feel comfortable in the calculations that it produced, and don't feel constricted to your old way of thinking, oh, this always has to go out digital or it always has to go out offset. Let the, quote, intelligence in our system allow the job to flow through the most optimal way, and sort of sit back and appreciate that. I don't think everyone really appreciates the level of complexity that goes into our calculations to move a job through its production path, and go onto the boards and sit back and feel comfortable looking at our boards and saying, yep, I'm going to run these jobs the way Print IQ told me to run it. And pretty soon, after a month or two, you realize, yeah, we're starting to see efficiency gains. So yeah, let the system do what it's telling you to do.
So we have about 3 minutes left, and I want just to go down the row. I'll ask a final question and then just let everyone know how they can get in touch with you. Look into the camera and tell the people at home, and tell the people, then look at the audience here and tell them the value proposition of your partnership with them, and again, how they can get in touch, which booth you're in, and your website and all that other information. Start with Kevin. Yeah?
The value proposition that we bring is we bring you an awesome technology that we have a huge team working on day in, day out to continue improving. And we will partner together with you. We will not give you the end solution, but if you have a good idea, we will help you execute it from a technical perspective. You can get in touch with us by going on our website, www.chili-publish.com, or come visit us at booth 257.
Thank you so much, and thanks for your continued support and partnership, Kevin.
Okay. Everybody, almost all our new customers, what happens is they are a commercial printer and then they went and bought a digital press. And then they realized it's really tough to make money on a $25 job if you touch it. So the real value of proposition here is that what we want to do is automate and do less touches. That's really the true meaning of a print MIS system. So you can set things up so they automatically process. We have a booth at I think it's 528.
It's
it's on my booth.
we're very
so
handy.
Nice. It's so nice that you
Yes,
did
we're
that.
very handy.
538, and you can get take a look at our website at presswise.com.
Thanks so much, and again, welcome to the Alliance, first-time Alliance member, SmartSoft. Thank you so much. Stephen Avanti.
So the value prop is really, really simple. To grow your
Can
business.
you guys hear him back there?
Grow your business without needing to add people. So it really is about automating as much of the process as you can, creating a more intimate relationship with your customer by giving them access into your system, and get paid faster because you're getting, the jobs going out the back door and the invoices going out the front door at the same time. Come and have a visit. We're in booth 635. If you want to look us up online, we're at avantisystems.com.
Thanks so much. Rich, Print IQ.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, our value proposition is primarily, take the smarts and, the years of expertise from that one individual in your shop and put it into our system. And that way everyone in your shop can use that system and they don't have to have all those years of expertise, and you can get jobs through the system and really, really see some benefits from everyone taking part in producing work in your system. And we're printers at heart, everyone here at Print IQ and IQ, and we develop all of this, and we know what it takes to get jobs out. We all come from offset or digital or wide format, so we know what a system needs to do to get jobs out. So visit us here at booth 457 at Print 2017, and also go to printiq.com.
Thank you guys so much, and for joining us today and for your support, new Alliance member, Print IQ. Thanks for everyone for joining us. There's people in the booth. There's a lot of people in the booth. Lady Scanalout's been busy. I've seen her running around. And we will be back in 10 minutes for a lunch with Solimar and an event. Plug the Leaks. Is your business losing? No, your business is losing money in more places than you know, and Solimar is going to help you figure out how to make that stop. So thanks so much. Complimentary lunch. Hang out a sec.